Good morning. Happy Tuesday. I think it is. Is it Tuesday? Yeah, it's Tuesday. How y'all doing? I just wanted to come in here really quickly. I just finished working out. I try to get my workouts in the morning. And before I start my day, I wanted to share something that was on my mind, and has been on my mind actually for quite a while. But I was having a conversation with one of my siblings the other day that just reminded me of this thought that I've been wanting to share, and it's the idea of just being mindful of how much energy you spend trying to build other people up. And I'm putting build in quotes for a reason. One of the things that my father used to teach and say often was that everybody's the same. Nobody's special. Nobody's better than you. Nobody's worse than you. We're all at the same level. And that's something that I actually teach in my workshops now, that nobody's special because everybody's special. And everybody's special because nobody's special. We're all the same. And he used to say that at the table of service, because my father was really, really big, him and my mom actually, really, really big into serving our community. At the table of service, people bring different dishes, but every dish is valuable to the collective meal. And so no one person's contribution is better, lower, higher, whatever than anybody else's, because they all come together collectively to create whatever we're trying to create in that meal, in that moment. And so as I'm thinking about that, and I've been thinking about this idea that I often hear people saying, pulling people up, building people up, when you make a way, pull somebody else up. The idea in that, or the premise behind that, is that in order to build somebody up or pull somebody up, they have to be beneath you somewhere, right? You can't be on the same level if I'm reaching down to pull you up, or if I'm reaching up to be pulled up. And so what happens is sometimes, not all the time, when we allow ourselves to get too deep in that mindset of pulling other people up, it can transition into sort of an ego exercise, or an exercise in the ego, because we think that we somehow know better than the other people, or we have something to offer them that they don't already have. And sometimes, again, not all the time, but sometimes we start to think that we're better than or elevated than. And I've been guilty of this myself, right? Particularly as I started to do this work around healing my consciousness and trying to elevate my mindset. There had been times where I would look at people with judgment and be like, and from a loving space, right? Oh, I really want to help that person. But judgment is judgment. And whether it's coming from a place of love or a place of contempt, it's still judgment, and it's still separation, and it still somehow puts us above the other person or the people that we're trying to help. And so, what I've been working on for myself, and what I would encourage you to do as well, is to shift the paradigm, right? Shift the way that you look at this notion of supporting and serving other people. Rather than thinking about building them up, I think about making a path, sharing my path, creating a space. So, whenever I've been in a position when I was working and I had an opportunity to hire people, I would look at people who maybe other people may not look at because their credentials didn't line up exactly with what the job description required, but I could see in myself that people have made a way for me, even though my credentials at the time may not have matched, and I've been able to get into spaces and really excel. My idea now is, how can I make a way for other people? How can I move over? Right? So instead of building up, how do I create a path, or create more space on the path that I'm on, so that if anybody else wants to get on this path, there's space for them. And how do I do that? I do that by sharing information. I do that by sharing opportunities. I do that by exchanging ideas. And I also do that by just making sure that I'm not selfish and withholding with information and things that I have. But this idea of trying to pull somebody up, I really have had to let that go, again, for the first reason that I shared, which is that it sets me apart from them and slightly above them. But also, when you have to pull, there's resistance. When you have to pull something, or even push something, or shove something, there is resistance. And if another person is resisting being pulled across, or being pulled up, or being pushed forward, that's an indication that he, she, or they're not ready, or it's not for them. And you might see something in them. You might have a desire for them from your perspective that you think is better than what it is that they're doing right now in this moment. Or maybe they're not living up to their potential. But if I got to pull you up and pull you up, but that means that there's resistance there, and I'm not down for that, because that tells me at the end of the day I'm setting myself up for disappointment. So rather than thinking about how can you build somebody up, because I often say, and I've been saying this a lot lately, if you didn't birth them, you can't build them, but you can create a path for them by moving over and creating space. And in that way, you are sharing, giving up, making opportunities, helping other people in spaces where maybe you have needed help before, but you're doing it from the mindset of we're all on the same path. I'm just moving over to create space for you. Again, I'll give you information, I'll give you resources, but this idea that I'm going to force you or push you or cajole you or convince you to do something, I'm done. I'm good with that. That doesn't work. It doesn't work because it ends up frustrating me, right? And getting me really annoyed. It doesn't work because the person that you push sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes they start to resent you for pushing them in a direction that they're not ready to go in, or that they really, really weren't interested in, but they did it because Marty said I should. And I'm not taking responsibility over anybody else's life. I'm not taking responsibility over anybody else's destiny. And as my friend Rita Spinola would often say, the same God that got me got them too, right? So rather than thinking about I need to pull somebody up or pull them up and all that stuff, I don't do any of that. I just sit back. Whatever I have, I make it available. Those who want to come get it, they come get it. Those who don't want to come get it, I leave them alone. But I don't force anybody to do anything, because at the end of the day, I'm not going to be held accountable for what you do or do not do in your life. I'm not going to open myself to being disappointed when you don't fulfill something that you didn't really have the motivation to fulfill on your own. So as you're going forward, and this is not just in business, this is in life as well. You have friends who might want to lose weight, or they want to transform their lives in some form or fashion, and you're constantly giving them stuff to read, constantly pushing them to do this. And then at the end of the day, it sort of levels out and they go back to their old ways, and you get mad, then they get embarrassed, and it sets up a whole crazy dynamic. When I first started this path towards just trying to look at myself, I remember my friend Rita, again, she gave me some books to read, and I was receptive to them, and I kept asking her for more. I kept asking her for information. It wasn't always easy. I was asking her for clarification and guidance in this space. But that's because I was hungry for it. I already demonstrated that I was hungry for it and that I wanted it. And she wasn't doing it from a space of, Marty, let me help you. I'm going to show you the way. It was like, hey, this helped me. This might help you too. Are you interested or you're not? If you are, cool. If you're not, that's cool too. What are we having for lunch? So just diving it back a little bit, as you go forward this week, be mindful of the times you get into spaces and you're trying to change people, or you're trying to build them up, or you're trying to push them in a direction to reach their potential. Everybody came into this world with a curriculum that was pre-written and a fate that was laid out by the divine, by the Most High. You don't have the wherewithal, you don't have the license, you don't have the authority to try to step between them and the curriculum that the divine dictated was for them. So make sure that as you go forward, make way, make room, answer questions, make opportunities, clear some space on the path for people who have indicated that they want to be on the path. But when you find yourself in the pulling business or the pushing business or the shoving business, it's time to back off. Cut it out. It doesn't work. Okay? If you didn't birth them, you can't build them. And even if you did birth them, it's not your responsibility to build them beyond a certain point. At some point, you got to step back and let life take over. Let life teach the lessons. Let life give the opportunities, right? You don't want to ever push yourself or push somebody else to the point that you now are living in frustration and disappointment. Because you weren't put here to be a second-class citizen, and you weren't put here to sacrifice all of who you are for other people who don't have the same vision for themselves that you have for them. It's a recipe for disaster, and it's an invitation for suffering, and I don't want you to do it. All right, that's it. Hope you have a good day today. Again, I'm done working out. I got a lot to get done today. I have a busy day ahead, as I'm sure you do too. So as you go forward, make sure you take care of yourself first and take care of the people that you love, and have a great day. I'll see you soon. Bye.